In a small town high up in the mountains of Colorado, there was a quiet observatory that most people didn't even know existed. It was a place where the air felt crisp and cold, and the stars seemed close enough to touch. Lucy Carter sat alone, in the dimly lit control room, her fingers tapping lightly on the keyboard as she adjusted the settings of the massive radio telescope outside. She had been doing this for years, listening to the vast emptiness of space, hoping to hear something, anything, that might prove humanity wasn't alone in the universe. Lucy wasn't like most people. While others dreamed about vacations or new cars, she dreamed about finding life beyond Earth. Her colleagues often teased her, saying she spent too much time staring at static and not enough time living in the real world. But Lucy didn't care. To her, every beep, every crackle, held the potential for discovery. And tonight something felt different. As she leaned closer to the monitor, adjusting the frequency just slightly, a strange sound cut through the usual background noise. At first it was faint, almost like a whisper. Lucy froze, her heart skipping a beat. She turned up the volume, straining to hear it more clearly. The sound wasn't random. It pulsed rhythmically, almost like a heartbeat. It was deliberate, intentional. Someone or something was out there. "Daniel!" Lucy called out, her voice trembling with excitement. "You need to come see this." A few moments later, Daniel Brooks hurried into the room. He was tall and lanky, with glasses that always seemed a little crooked. Like Lucy, he worked at the observatory, but his focus was more on analyzing data than searching for alien signals. Still, he knew how important this could be. "What is it?" Daniel asked, leaning over her shoulder to look at the screen. "Listen," Lucy said, pointing to the headphones resting on the desk. Daniel picked them up and placed them over his ears. His eyes widened as he heard the rhythmic pulses. "It's not natural," he muttered. This is artificial." For hours they worked together, recording and decoding the signal. It wasn't easy. The message was complex, layered with patterns that repeated but shifted subtly each time. Eventually, they managed to extract fragments of information. What they found sent chills down their spines. Coordinates. The signal contained precise directions pointing toward a location on Earth's moon. "This can't be real," Daniel whispered, running a hand through his messy hair. "If this is what I think it is—" "It's a message," Lucy interrupted, her voice steady despite the storm of emotions inside her. "Someone or something is trying to tell us something." Word of their discovery spread quickly. At first, it was just within the scientific community. A few emails exchanged between researchers who couldn't believe what they were reading. But secrets have a way of getting out, and soon, the news reached the public. Social media exploded, with theories and speculation. Some people celebrated, convinced that aliens would bring peace and advanced technology. Others panicked, fearing an invasion or some kind of cosmic judgment day. Governments around the world scrambled to respond. Emergency meetings were held. Military forces were put on alert, and scientists debated what to do next. Probes were launched toward the moon to investigate the coordinates, but before they could reach their destination, they vanished without a trace. No explosion, no debris, just silence. Fear began to settle over the planet like a thick fog. People stayed glued to their televisions and phones, waiting for answers that never came. In schools, children whispered about aliens during recess. In offices, coworkers speculated about what might happen next. Even skeptics started to wonder if maybe, just maybe, humanity wasn't ready for what was coming. Back at the observatory, Lucy struggled to sleep. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the signal, the pulsing rhythm that had changed everything. She couldn't shake the feeling that it wasn't just a message. It felt like a warning. But a warning about what? And why send it now? One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon and painted the sky in shades of orange and pink, Lucy stood outside the observatory, staring up at the stars. Daniel joined her, holding 2 cups of coffee. He handed one to her wordlessly, knowing she needed the comfort more than anything else. "What do you think they want?" Lucy asked after a long silence. Daniel shrugged. "I don't know. Maybe they're curious, or maybe... He trailed off, unsure if he wanted to finish the thought. Or maybe they're scared of us. Lucy finished for him. The idea startled her, but it made sense. Humans weren't exactly known for being peaceful. Wars, pollution, greed. It was a miracle the planet hadn't destroyed itself already. If aliens were watching, they might see humans as dangerous, unpredictable creatures. But we're also capable of amazing things, Daniel said softly. Art, science, love. We've survived against all odds. Maybe they're just trying to figure out which side of us will win. Lucy nodded, though she wasn't convinced. Something about the signal felt urgent, like time was running out. She glanced back at the observatory where the computers continued to hum softly, processing endless streams of data. Whatever happened next, she knew one thing for certain. Humanity was about to face its greatest challenge yet. And somewhere out there among the stars, someone or something was watching, waiting to see what humans would do. After the initial shock of hearing Arendor's voice, the away team tried to process what they were experiencing. The glowing holographic interface continued to hover in front of them, displaying streams of data and images that seemed to pulse with life. Dr. Laura Bennett took a step closer, her mind racing with questions. She had spent years studying the mysteries of the universe, but nothing could have prepared her for this moment. Arendor, she said cautiously, choosing her words. Carefully, can you explain more about who or what you are? The response came immediately, filling their minds with calm yet powerful thoughts. We are a collective consciousness, Arendor explained. Long ago, our species transcended physical form. We exist now as energy, unified in purpose and understanding. This structure you see is one of many remnants of our past, built to guide those who seek enlightenment. Lieutenant Ryan Scott frowned, glancing at Samantha Green. If you're just energy, why build something like this? He asked, gesturing toward the towering spires around them. Why not just stay wherever you are? Arendor's tone remained patient, almost gentle. Physical constructs serve as anchors for those still bound by matter. They allow us to communicate with beings like yourselves, who have yet to evolve beyond corporeal existence. Your arrival here marks a significant milestone in your journey. Samantha crossed her arms, her practical nature kicking in. So, you've been watching us. For how long? Centuries, Arendor replied simply. Your kind has shown remarkable resilience and adaptability, but your path has also been fraught with conflict and destruction. We have waited for the right moment to make contact, to determine if you are ready for what lies ahead. Dr. Bennett tilted her head, curiosity overcoming her unease. What exactly do you mean by what lies ahead? What do you want from us? Arendor paused as though considering its next words. When it spoke again, its voice carried a hint of solemnity. We offer access to our repository of knowledge, a collection of insights accumulated over millennia. It contains solutions to many of the challenges you face: disease, hunger, environmental decay, and even the limitations of mortality itself. However, such gifts come with conditions. To join us, you must relinquish individuality and merge with the collective. The statement hit the team like a wave, leaving them stunned. Lieutenant Scott broke the silence first. Merge? You mean lose ourselves completely? Not loss, Arendor corrected. Transformation. By joining the collective, you will transcend the confines of your current state. You will become part of something greater, eternal and infinite. Dr. Bennett shook her head slowly, trying to wrap her mind around the concept. That's a lot to take in. Why would we agree to give up who we are? For the sake of survival, Arendor replied. Your species stands at a crossroads. Without guidance, your expansion into the cosmos may lead to chaos, not only for yourselves, but for others as well. Joining the collective ensures harmony and balance. Samantha let out a low whistle, rubbing the back of her neck. This sounds like some kind of ultimatum. Either we join you, or we risk screwing everything up. In essence, yes, Arendor confirmed. But the choice is yours. We do not impose our will upon others. You must decide whether to embrace unity or continue alone. The weight of the decision settled heavily on the team. None of them felt equipped to answer such a monumental question, especially without consulting the rest of the crew aboard the Odyssey. Captain Daniel Carter's voice crackled over their comms, pulling them back to reality. "Team, report back to the shuttle. We need to discuss this ASAP." As they made their way back to the landing platform, the three of them exchanged uneasy glances. Samantha was the first to speak. "Do you think they're telling the truth about all this knowledge and transformation stuff?" Ryan shrugged. "Hard to say. I mean, they're obviously advanced, but giving up who we are? That's a big leap." Dr. Bennett nodded thoughtfully. "We don't know enough yet. There's so much we still need to understand before making any decisions. But one thing's for sure, this changes everything." Back aboard the Odyssey, the atmosphere in the briefing room was tense. Captain Carter sat at the head of the table, his expression unreadable as he listened to the team recount their encounter. When they finished, the room fell silent. Everyone present understood the gravity of what they were facing. Lieutenant Scott leaned forward, his brow furrowed. "Sir, if what Arendor says is true, this could be the biggest breakthrough in human history. But at what cost? Losing ourselves? Becoming whatever they are?" Engineer Samantha Green chimed in, her tone pragmatic. "On the flip side, think about what we could gain. Cures for diseases, clean energy, maybe even ways to extend life. Isn't that worth considering?" Captain Carter raised a hand to quiet the growing debate. "Hold on. Let's not jump to conclusions. This isn't just about us. It's about all of humanity. We can't make a decision like this lightly," Dr. Bennett interjected, her voice firm but measured. "I agree. We need more information. Arendor mentioned a repository of knowledge. Maybe we can negotiate terms, find a middle ground that allows us to benefit without sacrificing our identity." The idea sparked a new round of discussion. Some argued that humanity wasn't ready for such a radical shift, while others believed it was an opportunity too important to ignore. Captain Carter listened intently, weighing each perspective. Finally, he stood up, signaling an end to the meeting. "All right, here's what we'll do," he said decisively. "We'll send another team down to the structure. This time I'll go myself. Our goal is to learn as much as possible and explore every option. If there's a way to work with these beings without losing ourselves, we'll find it." As preparations began for the second mission, strange things started happening aboard the Odyssey. Crew members reported vivid dreams filled with visions of the alien city and whispers urging them to accept Arendor's offer. At first, no one paid much attention, dismissing the experiences as stress or fatigue. But when Dr. Bennett confided in Captain Carter that she too had been having unsettling dreams, he grew concerned. "Do you think Arendor is influencing us?" Carter asked, his voice low. "It's possible," Dr. Bennett admitted. "They might be testing us, seeing how far we're willing to go. Or maybe they're trying to prepare us for what's coming." Carter nodded grimly. "Then we'd better tread carefully. Whatever happens down there, we stick together. No one makes a move without consulting the team." The next day, the second team boarded the shuttle and headed back to the alien structure. As they approached, the shimmering spires loomed larger than ever, casting an otherworldly glow across the surrounding void. Captain Carter couldn't shake the feeling that they were stepping into something far bigger than themselves. When they landed and stepped onto the platform, the air felt different this time, charged, almost electric. The glowing glyphs along the walls pulsed brighter as they drew near, responding to their presence. Arendor's voice greeted them once again, warm and inviting. "You have returned," it said. "Have you reached a decision?" Captain Carter stepped forward, his posture steady despite the uncertainty swirling inside him. "Not yet," he replied. "We need answers. Tell us more about this transformation. What does it involve? And what happens to those who refuse?" Arendor hesitated, as if choosing its words carefully. Transformation begins with the dissolution of ego, the letting go of attachment to self. Those who embrace it become part of the collective, sharing in its wisdom and power. As for those who refuse, They remain unchanged, continuing along their chosen path. But isolation carries risks. Without unity, discord spreads. The captain exchanged a glance with Dr. Bennett, who nodded subtly. He turned back to Arendor. Is there another way? A compromise, perhaps? Access to your knowledge without the loss of individuality? For a moment, there was silence. Then Arendor spoke again, its tone thoughtful. A compromise may be possible, but it requires trust and a willingness to adapt. Are you prepared to walk that path? Captain Carter didn't answer right away. He looked at his team, then back at the towering structure around them. Whatever choice they made, it would shape the future of humanity forever. Captain Daniel Carter stood silently, his mind racing as he processed Arendor's words. The alien entity had just hinted at the possibility of a compromise, a middle ground between accepting their offer and rejecting it entirely. It was an unexpected turn, one that gave him a glimmer of hope. But trust was the key issue here. Could they truly rely on Arendor's intentions? Or was this some kind of test designed to manipulate them? Dr. Laura Bennett stepped forward, her voice steady, but cautious. If there's a compromise, she began, we need details. What exactly are you proposing? Arendor's response came slowly, each word resonating in their minds like a gentle hum. We can grant limited access to our repository of knowledge. You may learn from us without fully merging with the collective. However, this arrangement comes with restrictions. Certain truths will remain hidden until you prove yourselves worthy of greater understanding. Lieutenant Ryan Scott frowned, his arms crossed tightly over his chest. Prove ourselves? How? By jumping through hoops? That sounds suspiciously like manipulation. Arendor's tone remained calm, almost soothing. It is not manipulation. Growth requires effort and commitment. Your species has much to learn before it can wield advanced knowledge responsibly. We seek only to guide you, not control you. Samantha Green shifted uncomfortably beside Ryan. She didn't like the idea of being tested, but she also couldn't ignore the potential benefits. What happens if we screw up, she asked bluntly. If we mess something up along the way? You will face consequences, Arendor replied simply. But failure is part of learning. We do not punish mistakes. We encourage growth from them. Captain Carter let out a slow breath, trying to weigh the pros and cons. On one hand, this compromise sounded promising, a chance to gain invaluable knowledge without sacrificing humanity's individuality. On the other hand, it felt like walking into uncharted territory blindfolded. There were too many unknowns, too many variables. He turned to Dr. Bennett, seeking her input. She met his gaze, her expression thoughtful. This could be a turning point for humanity, she said quietly. But it's risky. If we agree, we'll need safeguards, rules to ensure we don't lose ourselves in the process. Ryan nodded in agreement. And transparency. No secrets. Whatever we bring back, everyone needs to know about it. Humanity deserves a say in how this plays out. Captain Carter considered their points carefully. He knew they were right. This wasn't just about the crew of the Odyssey. It was about all of humanity. Any decision they made would ripple across generations. Finally, he turned back to Arendor. We accept your proposal, for now. But under one condition, we keep full control over how we use the knowledge you share. No interference from you unless we ask for it. Arendor paused as though considering the request. After a moment it responded. Very well. We respect your terms. Begin by choosing 3 individuals to enter the repository. They will serve as conduits, carrying fragments of our wisdom back to your people. The team exchanged uneasy glances. Being chosen as a conduit sounded both thrilling and terrifying. Who would volunteer for such a responsibility? Captain Carter glanced at Dr. Bennett, who seemed deep in thought. Laura, he said finally, you're one of the smartest people I know. Will you do it? She hesitated for a moment, then nodded. I'll go. Someone needs to make sure we understand what we're dealing with. Ryan raised his hand next. I'll volunteer too. If things get weird, maybe my training can help us figure it out. Samantha sighed, rubbing the back of her neck. Guess that leaves me. Just promise me we're not signing up for anything crazy. Captain Carter managed a small smile. No promises, Sam, but we'll do our best to keep everything under control. With the volunteers selected, Arendor guided them toward a massive doorway at the base of the structure. As they approached, the door slid open silently, revealing a corridor bathed in soft golden light. The air inside felt different, lighter, almost buoyant, as though gravity itself had been altered. Symbols similar to those on the exterior. Walls floated lazily in the air, shifting and rearranging themselves as the group moved deeper into the passage. At the end of the corridor, they entered a vast chamber unlike anything they had ever seen. The room was filled with glowing orbs suspended in midair, each pulsating with its own unique rhythm. In the center of the space stood a pedestal, its surface covered in intricate patterns that shimmered like liquid metal. Arendor's voice echoed around them once again. Step forward, conduits. Place your hands upon the pedestal. Dr. Bennett went first, her heart pounding as she placed her palms flat against the cool surface. Instantly, a surge of energy coursed through her body, flooding her mind with images and sensations she couldn't fully comprehend. Memories of distant worlds, ancient civilizations, and complex equations flashed before her eyes, overwhelming, yet exhilarating. She stumbled back, gasping for breath as Ryan took his turn. For Ryan, the experience was different. Instead of visions, he felt a flood of emotions, joy, sorrow, fear, and wonder, all intertwined in a kaleidoscope of feelings. It was as though he was glimpsing the collective consciousness itself, experiencing fragments of countless lives lived across eons. When he stepped away, his legs wobbled beneath him, and he had to lean against Samantha for support. Finally, it was Samantha's turn. Unlike the others, she approached the pedestal cautiously, half expecting something terrible to happen. But when she touched it, the sensation was surprisingly gentle. A warm glow spread through her fingertips, followed by a series of vivid dreams. She saw herself standing on Earth, surrounded by lush green forests and sparkling rivers. Then the scene shifted, showing cities powered by clean energy and people living in harmony with nature. It was beautiful, but fleeting, vanishing as quickly as it had appeared. When all three had finished, Arendor spoke once more. You have received fragments of our knowledge. Carry them wisely, for they hold the seeds of transformation. Return to your ship and share what you have learned. The path ahead will not be easy, but it is yours to walk. As they exited the chamber and made their way back to the shuttle, the weight of what they had experienced settled heavily on their shoulders. None of them spoke much during the journey back to the Odyssey, each lost in their own thoughts. Captain. Carter greeted them as they disembarked, his expression a mix of relief and concern. How did it go? He asked, his voice low. Dr. Bennett shook her head, still trying to process everything. It's hard to explain, sir. The knowledge, it's vast, too much to absorb all at once, but it's real, and it's incredible. Ryan nodded, his face pale but determined. Yeah, feels like my brain's been rewired or something, but I think we can handle it. Samantha forced a weak smile. Let's just hope we don't screw it up. Back in the briefing room, the team gathered to discuss their findings. Dr. Bennett described the technical insights she had gained, breakthroughs in energy production, medical science, and environmental restoration. Ryan shared his impressions of the emotional connection he'd felt, emphasizing the importance of cooperation and empathy in using the new knowledge. Samantha talked about the visions of a better future, urging the crew to focus on the positive possibilities rather than the risks. Captain Carter listened intently, his expression growing increasingly serious. When they finished, he addressed the group. This changes everything, not just for us, but for humanity as a whole. We have a responsibility to use this knowledge wisely, to improve life on Earth while respecting who we are. But we also need to prepare for challenges. People won't always agree on how to move forward, and there will be resistance. The crew nodded, understanding the enormity of the task ahead. For now, they had taken the first step down a new and uncertain path. The alien civilization had offered them a gift, a chance to reshape their world, but it was up to humanity to decide how to use it. The Odyssey's journey back to Earth was tense but hopeful. The crew had spent weeks analyzing the fragments of knowledge they had brought back from the alien structure, piecing together what they could understand and documenting everything, in detail. Dr. Laura Bennett worked tirelessly, her mind buzzing with equations and theories that seemed impossible just months ago. Lieutenant Ryan Scott helped coordinate security protocols, ensuring that the information would be protected. During their return, Samantha Green, meanwhile, focused on practical applications, brainstorming ways to adapt the new technology for everyday use. Captain Daniel Carter watched his team with a mix of pride and concern. They were handling the situation well, but he couldn't shake the feeling that this discovery was only the beginning. The weight of responsibility pressed heavily on him. How would humanity react when they learned about Arendor and the offer of transformation? Would people embrace the opportunity, or would fear and mistrust derail everything? As the Odyssey approached Earth's orbit, the crew prepared for their arrival. News of their mission had already spread across the planet thanks to encrypted transmissions sent ahead to global leaders. Governments, scientists, and ordinary citizens were eagerly awaiting updates, though rumors and speculation ran rampant. Some hailed the discovery as a miracle, others saw it as a threat. Protesters gathered outside space agencies holding signs that read, "Stay human," and "No to alien control." The world was divided, and tensions were high. When the Odyssey finally touched down at a secure facility in New Mexico, Captain Carter stepped off the ship alongside Dr. Bennett, Lieutenant Scott, and Samantha Green. A delegation of government officials, scientists, and military personnel greeted them, their faces a mix of excitement and apprehension. Cameras flashed as reporters shouted questions, but Carter ignored them, focusing instead on the task at hand. Inside the facility, a large conference room had been set up for the debriefing. Representatives from every major nation sat around, the table, their expressions serious. Carter took a deep breath before addressing the group. "Ladies and gentlemen," he began, his voice steady, "what we are about to share will change the course of human history. We have encountered an advanced civilization, a collective consciousness known as Arendor. They have offered us access to their repository of knowledge, which includes solutions to many of the challenges we face today." A murmur rippled through the room as people leaned forward, hanging on his every word. Dr. Bennett stood up next, projecting diagrams and data onto a large screen. She explained the breakthroughs in clean energy, medical advancements, and environmental restoration that could revolutionize life on Earth. Her presentation was met with awe and disbelief, but also skepticism. One official raised his hand, his tone sharp. "Dr. Bennett, you talk about these benefits, but what's the catch? What do they want from us?" Carter nodded, expecting the question. "Arendor has made it clear that full access to their knowledge requires joining their collective. Essentially, giving up our individuality. However, they've agreed to a compromise. We can gain limited access without merging, but we must prove ourselves worthy by using this knowledge responsibly." Another representative chimed in, her voice tinged with frustration. "Prove ourselves? That sounds vague. How exactly do we do that? And who decides if we pass their test?" Ryan spoke up, his tone measured. "It's not a traditional test. From what we understand, it's more about how we apply the knowledge. If we use it selfishly or recklessly, there could be consequences. But if we work together and prioritize the greater good, we might earn more trust and more access," Samantha added, her voice firm. "This isn't just about technology. It's about changing the way we think and act. We have to focus on cooperation, not competition. Otherwise, we risk losing everything." The discussion continued late into the night, with arguments breaking out over ethics, politics, and logistics. Some leaders wanted immediate implementation of the new technologies, while others urged caution, warning of unforeseen dangers. Eventually, a decision was reached. A global council would oversee the integration of Arendor's knowledge, ensuring transparency, and accountability. Scientists, ethicists, and representatives from diverse backgrounds would collaborate to guide humanity's next steps. In the weeks that followed, the world began to transform. Clean energy systems based on Arendor's designs replaced fossil fuels, drastically reducing pollution. Medical breakthroughs cured diseases that had plagued humanity for centuries. Deserts bloomed with vegetation, and oceans teemed with life once again. People marveled at the rapid progress, celebrating a brighter future. But not everyone was happy. Resistance movements sprang up, accusing governments of colluding with an alien force bent on controlling humanity. Conspiracy theories spread like wildfire, fueled by misinformation and fear. Protests erupted in cities around the globe, with some groups demanding a halt to all interactions with Arendor. Amid the chaos, Captain Carter found himself reflecting on the mission. He had hoped the discovery would unite humanity, but instead, it had exposed deep divisions. Still, he clung to the belief that they were moving in the right direction. Progress was never easy, especially when it challenged long-held beliefs and ways of life. One evening, as he stood on a balcony overlooking a city illuminated by renewable energy, Dr. Bennett joined him. She held a tablet in her hands, scrolling through reports of recent successes and failures. "Do you think we made the right choice?" she asked softly. Carter sighed, gazing at the horizon. "I don't know. Maybe there's no such thing as a perfect decision. All we can do is keep moving forward and hope we learn along the way." Dr. Bennett nodded, her expression thoughtful. "You're right, and maybe that's the point. Not having all the answers, but being willing to ask the questions." Back aboard the Odyssey, preparations were underway for another mission. This time the goal wasn't exploration but communication. Humanity needed to maintain contact with Arendor, to continue learning and proving themselves worthy of greater trust. Captain Carter volunteered to lead the mission, knowing it wouldn't be easy, but he also knew it was necessary. As the ship launched into orbit, Carter looked out the viewport at the blue-green sphere below. Earth had changed so much in such a short time, yet its core remained the same. A fragile, beautiful world filled with flawed but resilient people. Whatever lay ahead, one thing was certain: humanity's journey was far from over. Years had passed since the Odyssey's fateful encounter with Arendor, and Earth was almost unrecognizable. The once polluted skies were now clear, filled with the hum of energy-efficient vehicles powered by technology derived from alien knowledge. Deserts that had once stretched endlessly were now lush with vegetation, thanks to advanced irrigation systems that harnessed moisture from the air. Medical facilities cured diseases that had once been considered untreatable, extending human lifespans and improving quality of life for millions. Humanity had entered a new era, an age of unprecedented progress and unity. But beneath the surface of this golden age, tensions simmered. Not everyone embraced the changes brought by Arendor's knowledge. Some feared the growing reliance on alien technology, arguing that humanity was losing its independence. Others worried about the ethical implications of wielding such power. Protests continued in cities around the world, with groups demanding stricter oversight or even a complete halt to further integration. The Global Council tasked with managing the transition faced constant scrutiny, their decisions debated fiercely in public forums and private meetings alike. Captain Daniel Carter, now retired from active duty, stood on a balcony overlooking one of the newly transformed cities. Towering buildings made of self-healing materials glimmered under the sunlight, while parks brimming with greenery replaced what had once been concrete wastelands. Children laughed as they played near fountains that recycled water instantly, and drones zipped through the air delivering supplies. It was a scene straight out of humanity's dreams, yet Carter couldn't shake the feeling that something vital was missing. Dr. Laura Bennett approached him, her tablet tucked under one arm. She had aged gracefully, her sharp mind still as active as ever. "You look like you're carrying the weight of the world," she said with a faint smile. Carter chuckled softly. "Maybe I am, or maybe it's just nostalgia talking. Remember, when we thought solving technical problems would fix everything?" Laura nodded, leaning against the railing beside him. We underestimated how hard it is to change hearts and minds. Knowledge alone isn't enough. It's how we use it that matters. The two fell silent, watching the bustling city below. Despite the challenges, Carter knew they had accomplished something extraordinary. Humanity hadn't just survived, it had thrived. But the journey wasn't over, not by a long shot. Meanwhile, aboard the Odyssey 2, the successor to the original ship, a new crew prepared for another mission to the alien structure. Lieutenant Ryan Scott, now a seasoned officer, stood on the bridge alongside Samantha Green, who had risen to the rank of chief engineer. Both had volunteered for this expedition, knowing its importance. Their goal was simple, yet profound: to deepen humanity's understanding of Arendor's collective consciousness and explore whether greater access to the repository of knowledge was possible. As the Odyssey 2 approached the shimmering spires of the alien construct, Ryan felt a mix of excitement and apprehension. He remembered his first visit vividly, the overwhelming flood of emotions, the sense of connection to something far greater than himself. This time, he was determined to stay focused, to ask the questions no one else had dared to ask. When the E-Air shuttle landed, the team stepped out onto the translucent platform, greeted by the familiar hum of energy. Arendor's voice resonated in their minds almost immediately. "You have returned. Have your people proven themselves worthy?" Ryan stepped forward, his voice steady. "We've made progress, but we're not perfect. We've used your knowledge to heal our planet and improve lives, but there are still divisions among us. People fear change, and some resist it altogether." Arendor's tone remained calm, almost compassionate. "Fear is natural, especially in the face of transformation, but growth requires courage. Tell me, what do you seek this time?" Samantha spoke up, her practical nature shining through. "We want to understand more about your collective. How did you become what you are? And what happens if we choose never to join you?" For a moment, there was silence. Then Arendor responded, its words flowing like a gentle stream. "Our journey began with choice just as yours has. Long ago, we faced the same crossroads, whether to preserve individuality or embrace unity. In time, we chose the latter, finding harmony beyond the limitations of physical form. As for your second question, if you reject unity entirely, you will remain as you are, charting your own path. But isolation carries risks. Without guidance, chaos may arise." Ryan exchanged a glance with Samantha. Her expression mirrored his thoughts. They needed clarity, not vague warnings. "What kind of risks?" he pressed. "Can you give us specifics?" Arendor hesitated before answering. "Your expansion into the cosmos will bring encounters with other civilizations, some friendly, others hostile. Without balance, conflicts may escalate, threatening not only your survival but the stability of the galaxy. Unity offers protection, but it is not the only path. Cooperation, empathy, and wisdom can achieve similar results." The team absorbed these words, realizing that Arendor wasn't pushing for compliance, but offering guidance. They spent hours exploring the structure, gathering insights, and asking questions. By the time they returned to the Odyssey 2, their minds were buzzing with possibilities. Back on Earth, Captain Carter watched as news of the latest mission spread across the globe. People marveled at the revelations, debating what they meant for humanity's future. Some argued that joining the collective was inevitable, while others insisted on forging their own destiny. The divide between these perspectives grew wider, but so did the determination to find common ground. In a historic address to the United Nations, Carter addressed the world. Standing behind a podium, he looked out at the crowd of diplomats, scientists, and citizens gathered to hear him speak. "This discovery has shown us that we are not alone in the universe," he began, his voice firm but kind. "It has given us tools to heal our planet and improve our lives, but it has also forced us to confront difficult truths about ourselves, our fears, our divisions, and our potential." He paused, letting his words sink in. "We cannot undo the choices we've made, nor should we. What we can do is move forward with purpose. Whether we choose to embrace unity or forge our own path, let us do so with compassion, humility, and respect for one another. Because in the end, it's not the technology that defines us, it's how we treat each other. The audience erupted into applause, though Carter knew his speech wouldn't resolve every conflict. Still, it was a step toward bridging the gap between hope and fear. Decades later, humanity stood on the brink of interstellar exploration. New ships, designed using Arendor's principles, prepared to venture beyond the solar system. These vessels carried not just technology but lessons learned from years of struggle and growth. The decision to merge with the collective remained open, a choice left to future generations. As Captain Carter gazed at the stars one final time, he reflected on the journey that had changed everything. Humanity had faced its greatest challenge and risen to meet it. Imperfect, flawed, but undeniably resilient, they had taken their first steps toward becoming something greater. And somewhere, in the vast expanse of space, Arendor watched silently, waiting to see where humanity's path would lead next.